Welcome back, everybody, to Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Minimalist Run. And I was still talking when the video actually ran out in the previous episode. Because as I said, this is a post-commentary, and I had already split up the videos at pre-designated times, and, you know, events and things like that. And I was still talking heavy and hard about that 5 silver ruby puzzle thing that they did for the longest time. Both in the Shadow Temple, the Spirit Temple, and they just kept reusing the silver rubies over and over again. And after a while, it gets kind of boring as a game mechanic, as a puzzle obstacle mechanic. So I don't know if they just ran out of ideas, or they intentionally reused the silver rubies over and over again. It's really, really weird. So anyway, that was the thought that I wanted to finish from the previous episode. But now we move on to... oh my goodness, yes! Trying to get this key from inside the skull, which you have to throw a bomb into. First off, that's not exactly apparent. That's what you should do in that particular room. There's nothing hinting that you should throw a bomb into the central flame cauldron of the skull there, but I guess in hindsight, I guess you could say those 2 bomb flowers are your hints and say, hey, you might want to take either of these bomb flowers or just a normal bomb and throw it in there. But of course, you know, trying to connect the dots when I was younger probably did not. And of course, there was me trying to actually get the bomb into into it. I missed so many times, and they all just went flying off to the left or right and never into the skull cauldron. A lot of practice was needed there. Another use of the iron boots. But now we got to switch out with the hover boots to get across this particular chasm. So a very interesting mix of using both types of boots to get past this particular obstacle. So you have to work back and forth between using the iron boots so the wind doesn't blow you off, and then in certain instances using the hover boots so the wind pushes you further across specific gaps. Oh yeah, this is a lovely room. Now, Minimalist Run, I got the Sun Song because I thought that sequence was pretty cool when I was younger, but because it's a Minimalist Run, I can't actually use the Sun Song in killing these things, so I have to do it the normal way without using the Sun Song, even though I have it in my possession. So it gives you 2 hints here. You need to have the wind blow you across a pit, and 2, there's a hidden path, so you need to have the Lens of Truth on so you can have the wind blow you to that hidden path. So you gotta backtrack into the previous room and say, okay, where is this wind taking me? Oh, and there's the hidden path. We wait for the wind to die down, because we want to time this right. Get our handy-dandy boots on, and apparently get our styling tunics in order. Oh my goodness, I am just not doing so well, am I? And of course we got 2 re-deads, and no Sun Song to freeze them in place. This is not going to end well. I'm a little nervous here. I'm hoping that some hearts might show up in one of these pots, and of course, I'm not that lucky. And I get screamed at. No! Get it, and we're done. The Gyptos killed me. So we're gonna splice cut ahead, because there isn't really any major shortcuts until you get to the boat that takes you to the last part of the underworld or whatnot. Takes you to the afterlife. Because until you get to that point where the shortcut is, you actually have a long road ahead to get back to where you were. And even trying to attack him from afar, it doesn't work. Still gotta get caught. Oh, gosh. No! These things are so annoying. I'm not even attacking in the right direction. And the fact that they get behind you... Oh my goodness, it was just like a comedy of errors. It's so funny. And I can't even get out of this room. This is just... Wow, the epicness of the fail was real in this room. This is what happens when you don't have the Sun Song at your disposal in a minimalist run. Things like the Redeads or the Gibdos become insanely hard. Now obviously we're missing something. Because there's a locked door and there's no key, and the Lens of Truth doesn't show anything. So a weird thing here is that there's this mound in the corner of the room which you have to bomb, and since the Lens of Truth doesn't really show anything, the only clue bird that there's something else here is the compass. If you look in the map, it shows you that there's another chest in the room and happens to be in that corner. That's the only clue bird you have to know that you need to bomb that little section of the room. We are here at the Boat of the Damned, I like to call it. The Boat of Lost Souls. Who knows? Why this is here? I have no idea. This whole place is creepy, and it begs a lot of explanation that is never given to you in this game. But, if we move this block, we will have our one and only shortcut from the beginning of the dungeon to somewhere later in the dungeon. But anything past this boat, we're going to have to keep revisiting this boat segment over and over and over again if we happen to die and continue anywhere past this point. So my goal is to just try and get the block into a spot where it locks in and it saves my progress. So now I have officially opened the shortcut. And now we get to listen to the annoying beep the entire way on this journey through the underworld. Those hearts up on the balcony there, you can't get them normally. You'll have to have trained a scarecrow in a new tune back in the past at Lake Hylia, and then play it here for the scarecrow to pop up on that upper balcony. And then you can get some extra hearts. Ah, this wasn't going to be a peaceful trip after all. You had to have some sort of battle here on the ship. It was inevitable. Thankfully, if you're well-versed in fighting Stalfos at this point, this shouldn't be too bad, but the trick here is not so much that you need to beat the Stalfos before you get to the other side of the cavern with the boat. No, not at all. They're here just to stall you and whittle down your hit points by the time you get to the other side. You can not kill a single one of these Stalfos and be just fine. Because once you get to the other side, the boat's going to shake and then fall into the abyss, into the water. And as long as you get off in time, whatever battles you were facing with these Stalfos don't mean a thing because they go down with the ship. Look, here it is. Escape! Go, go, go! And the ship is gone, as with all Stalfos. There is absolutely no hearts here, at all. It's like the game hates us. Either that, or the designers knew that you'd be low on hearts, and deliberately chose not to give them to you. That could have killed him. That should have killed him where he was. So we see some hearts up on the ledge here, and the only way to get to them is through the Song of Time. You'd think there'd be like you'd have to blow the Scarecrow song again, and a Scarecrow would appear up there. But no, certain things like this, where there's items just out of your reach and you have no idea where to get them, that requires the Scarecrow, though. When Navi turns green like that, that would require a Scarecrow to appear there. But if there's something out of your reach and Navi doesn't turn green like that, more likely than not, the Song of Time will magically have a time block appear out of thin air. So now we're in a new room, and what it looks like a room of nothing but pillars is actually a maze that you can't see unless you have the Lens of Truth on, and of course you got all these little creepy thing hands going all over the place. Floor masters is what they call them. Oh gosh, yes, this room. If you don't stop these two barricade walls coming in, I think that instantly kills you. But since, if you look real closely, they're both made of fire. And actually, I think that this is the second required use of the den's fire, because I think the fire arrows alone are not enough to burn either one of these barricades as they close in. Oh, and you set the redeads on fire too, look at that. Yes, this is another required use. Because you need to be in this room for the boss key. Where the heck is that redead going? She was death, apparently. So with the boss key, we have one more key left to do, to find, and then we're on to what I consider one of the hardest bosses in the game. And that will probably become pretty apparent really soon. You know, I just noticed some of those walls aren't reaching fully to the top, the invisible ones. Some of them only reach half of the way. That could be just a trick of the eye with the Lens of Truth, but something I didn't notice before. And this is actually a pointless room unless you're going for 100% and going for all the gold Skulltulas. Then that actually is a worthwhile room to go to. Just ignore these floor masters, just go right past them. They're more trouble than they're worth, and they serve no purpose killing them. Oh gosh! What kind of awful torture happened here? I mean, there's just so many unanswered questions in the Shadow Temple here. Like, there's all these sorts of torture devices and rooms and, you know, blood all over the place. And you're like, what the heck was... Oh gosh, what's it doing to me? Kill it! Kill it! Okay, so that's exactly what happens when... And there I go down for the count. Second death now for this video. So yeah, if a Wall Master, one of the little mini ones, when it splits up, comes after you, it actually drains your magic to refuel itself and grow bigger again. And then you have to repeat the whole process all over and trying to kill the stupid thing. So we're going to splice cut ahead using the shortcut that I talked about earlier. And let's actually do this right now. Let's try not to get killed. So, when you split this thing into 3, you need to be very quick about killing its small little pieces. If they latch onto you and drain your magic, you're pretty much back to square one. So, I actually came up with a better way of dealing with them, and that is bow and arrow. Instead of 2 hits from your sword, it's 1 arrow, and you can actually keep your distance from them. Much better alternative. And this would be the last key we're looking for. I think there's a hole underneath there, and I don't really want to walk through to find out. So yeah, as I mentioned before in the last video, most of the Shadow Temple is very, very linear, with a couple offshoot rooms here and there to get the necessary keys you need. But for the most part, you're traveling on a forward progression path throughout the dungeon. Not like the Water Temple, where you were going backtracking all over the place, up and down, left and right. It was crazy, that particular dungeon, but this is more straightforward. And speaking of straightforward, the only solution in this particular room would be, of course, the hover boots. So you gotta find the proper route through this room, because not all gaps between the platforms are short enough of a distance that the hover boots will actually get you across. Because some gaps are far enough across that you will drop into the abyss if you try and span them with the hover boots. So you gotta find the right route through the platforms to get to the other side. And with that, we're at the boss door, with a creepy looking pit in the floor that we have to jump down. We'll see what's on the other side in the next video. See everybody. See y'all, everybody. Wow, I messed that up.